Two Jack Bros. Two Jack Bros.
Welcome back to Two Jack Bros, and if it's your first time, welcome to you, and thank you for giving us a shot. I am Sidney. I am sitting next to Ansley.
Hello.
And today our guest is none other than the Casey Kuftic.
What's up?
Happy to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah,
thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome, man. I was looking forward to having you here. Ansley,
Yes.
you want to tell Casey how the show works?
Oh.
Casey, do you know how the show works?
Fortunately, I do now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You told me about the Jake episode. I'm like, all right.
Is that the one you checked out?
I did check it out.
All right, awesome.
Very good. Very
Awesome.
good. Yeah.
It was when I asked Casey to come on to the show. I'm always debating whether or not to have somebody come in blind or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I think it depends on the person.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And like with Casey, it was like, I know it can go either way with him. I know it would be good either way, but I also know he likes to prepare for things.
Oh, yeah.
You know how Casey likes to be ready for stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, I don't want you to see an episode, but I know you work that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, it all worked out.
Yeah. No, it's good.
It all worked
Right
out.
call.
Cool. So if you don't know, if you're listening for the first time, the premise of this podcast is to prove that you can have a dark sense of humor and still reach enlightenment or a higher consciousness, right? And what we do is we take our guest, who is Casey, through the process of enlightenment so that you and Ansley and myself can laugh our ways to a higher consciousness.
Yes.
We get enlightened through Casey becoming enlightened. It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Casey, are you ready for this?
We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
We'll reach it. I don't know if I've ever been enlightened, so we'll see how this goes.
I don't know if we ever have either, but each episode puts us a little closer.
Perfect.
You know, it's our guests leave glowing.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
They leave sitting in the lotus position.
Yeah. Float out of the house.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Ansley,
Yes.
let's go.
Casey, what
Yeah.
situation or experience has taught you the most information?
I probably have to go with the parents' divorce, and that's informative.
Yes.
There's a lot you find out there.
Yeah. All the dirty laundry.
How old were you when your parents divorced?
The nice ripe age of 13. You
Oh,
know, when
beautiful.
life's already going great and it's sunshine and roses.
Okay,
Yeah.
so before we get into the divorce, you're 13. What are your strengths and weaknesses at 13? I want to know. I want to know the back of your, like, when you get like X-Men cards. I want to know the back of your X-Men cards. Give me
Yeah.
your stats.
My strength, like one of my strengths of hate, I was good at like not liking anything, you know, about what was ever around me. Immobility, you know, not actually wanting to do anything.
Sick.
Angry, sedentary dude.
Weaknesses. Yeah, exactly. Weaknesses include school, responsibilities, listening. You know,
You're a
your typical.
treat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where, did
Typical
you guys
13-year-old
grow-
mutant.
Will you guys grow up in Philadelphia area?
I grew up in a small town on the other side of the state called Edinburgh. It's right
Like
outside of
Pittsburgh?
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Yeah, like
Erie.
about like 2 hours north of Pittsburgh.
There's a college in Edinburgh, like Edinburgh College.
University. Yeah, that's where I went. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's a small private school.
Small state school.
Oh,
it was part
okay.
of like the PSAC, you know, state system, like Shippensburg, Westchester,
Gotcha.
IUP. They're all a part of that same system.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now you're 13.
Wait, I need to know if you have brothers and sisters.
Okay.
Oh, also yes, I'm the youngest. My sister is 4 years older than me. My brother's 7 years older than me.
Okay.
Are you implying that because he's the youngest, the divorce is somehow his fault? That was fucked up. Ansley.
Yeah.
That was very fucked up.
It was fucked up, but it's true.
Straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. All right. So Casey was the straw. So you're
Yep.
13.
Uh-huh.
Or now, what is your relationship like with your mom and your dad?
It was good, and it always has been really good. And I think with the information that came, you know, is that it wasn't an ugly situation by any means.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they weren't fighting. There was no like, oh my God, I'm glad this is finally over. It was kind of like I was surprised because I just didn't realize that there was anything going on.
Yeah.
So
Was it
it's-
mutual?
I believe that it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, you know, as people do, they fall apart. You know, and I think my father would have liked to just kind of stick it out just so I could get through like high school without doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, different situations for different people. And then I understood where like my mom was coming from, where like, you know, she was ready to like move on. And so, you know, there was like some choices I had to make, and, you know,
Oh,
where am I gonna go? Because like,
yeah.
you know, my brother and sister were in college, so like, of course
Yeah.
they're affected by it, but they're also not in the house.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So like, you know,
who was making the bigger play for your affection? And keep in mind that no, but keep it in mind because like dads can get a bum rap in a situation like this. Keep it in mind that your dad is a man and he's trying to make that affectionate play a little differently.
you know, he didn't really change up the game too much. You know,
That's why I said that.
Yeah, he didn't. I mean,
Yeah.
he was he was an attorney, and he spent hours and hours in the office. So like, he just didn't really change that much. You know, he still was very hyper focused on work. My mom was like the one who's like, hey, I got tickets for us to go to the Penguins season home opener. You know, it's Sidney Crosby's first game in Pittsburgh, and I'm like, pretty sweet, Mom. Not gonna lie. Yeah, your house is looking pretty good right now. And so yeah, you know, it's and that's how they've both always been. You know, my dad's never been much of a like, I'm going to do this grand gesture, you know, and my mom has always been like, I want to do something very special for you. It's, you know, the kind of people they are.
So, but you're 13 and you have the option between a house where you will have like Sidney Crosby tickets or a house where you will have like all the freedom you need and privacy to jerk off at 13.
So that's why I went to my dad's house eventually. That's why I ended up, you know, I started the move to Mom's house, and I was like, I don't think I'll be able to jerk off here as much as I really feel like I should be right now. I'm going to go back to Dad's where no one's ever home.
Yeah.
This should be a lot easier.
Okay. All right. So originally you went to Mom's and you went to Dad's.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what are you learning from this divorce?
I mean, like, in a fucking sad way, it was like I said, because it was very, it kind of came out of nowhere. I was also just oblivious to things too, right? They didn't sleep together in our house for a year. But like what had happened was my mom, she was like wiping the counter and like jammed her pinky in like the corner really bad and had to have surgery on her pinky. So then she started like, she had to keep it elevated at night after the surgery over her head. So she was like sleeping she had like a couch in her office downstairs in our house. And she was like sleeping down there so she could elevate her hand, you know, and she just kept it elevated for a year. I like never thought twice about it, you know? Never thought twice about it. And then I think we like finally started having conversations because I think I just wasn't asking any questions. And my mom was like, she's a psychologist, and she's just like, Jesus, he's not picking up on anything. And so she actually started to talk to me about it. So then I started to like realize, okay, something's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was completely oblivious. So again, it was just kind of like the information I was really getting was like things can just change. Like not, you know, things that your comfort zone can go away and, you know, almost immediately. Like things can just shift overnight. Like nothing's really certain. Nothing might last forever. So I, you know, not the best outlook to have on life, but that was like, I had not really experienced anything. I lived a pretty cozy life up until then. And then it was like, shit can happen, you know, shit can hit the fan, shit can change. And so, you know, you kind of start to look at everything a little bit differently, you know, after that.
That's an important lesson.
Yeah.
For sure.
People need to know that. I feel like, you know, as a parent, I want my kids to know that, but I'm also like, you know, Ansley and I work pretty hard. We're able to provide our kids a little bit of a more comfortable life than we had growing up. But in doing so, they're not getting the chaotic, tumultuous shit at all times to know that their comfort zone.
Also not a bad thing.
Yeah,
like,
it's not, you know,
not a bad thing, but yeah,
except
it
they
is
have
like,
a dad that's overly paranoid and constantly screaming in their face how things can change at any moment.
And they're like, what are you talking about? Nothing's changed the entire time we've been alive. And you're like, it will, trust me, it's gonna change. Nothing's guaranteed. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also funny to me to think about like later on in life, if like you jam like your pinky or a finger and you realize like after a week, it's like that was quick.
Yeah. Like, well, this is pretty okay, but this couch is comfortable. And yeah.
So all right, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And so what we do from here, now each question is going to be associated with opening up a different chakra.
That wasn't one of them?
That wasn't
a chakra opener? Okay.
That's just a who is Casey Kuftic?
Oh, okay. That was a great way to find out.
Yeah. So from the root chakra to the crown chakra is where we're going to go. And the root chakra is located in your butthole. I have to tell everybody that.
Hell yeah.
Because that's my way of asking for consent to move forward with these chakras. Okay. Ansley, Let's go.
All right. Casey, how did
Yes.
you learn to overcome fear?
Was I supposed to do that at this point in my life? That's a thing that I've been on lately. I feel like I'm still a very afraid person. It's been on my mind a lot lately. And I'm not afraid of everything, but like I just noticed that fears keep kind of circling back or popping up, and I'm like, damn, how have I not gotten this like under control? Some stuff like stand up. I'm never like, I'll get nervous before a set, but I'm always excited to do it.
Yeah.
But then like I'll be afraid of like, I don't want to hit this booker up for a show because I don't want to deal with the rejection part of it that I am expecting will come. So like, and just fears in general. Like even I'm still like I'm still like a child at heart. I still get spooked by like a sound that I don't know where it's coming from.
Okay.
Like last night I thought I heard something breathing in my room, and I was like, all right, so like I'm not sleeping for the next 2 hours. It was probably just like an extra hum coming from my air conditioner, but like
Yeah.
But do you just like pull the covers over and like stay awake, or do you flashlight and like check out your fear?
Oh, I keep my eyes open, so if anything tries anything,
Yeah.
I'm ready for it. You know what I mean?
I also imagine you like tracking on your like how much time each breath is. Like, okay, that's the rhythm. That's breathing.
Yeah.
That's breathing.
No, that's what I should do. That's not what
Yeah.
I was doing. I was just being completely irrational and being like, did someone just breathe once?
They're
Who
good.
was that? Yeah. It doesn't make sense, but that's what I mean. I have these like I still am like very capable of like having a very irrational dumb fear pop up. So yeah, I haven't really. I guess I'm not afraid to. I'll say I'm not afraid to try things, and I think that comes from like I had really supportive parents that were never like, you can't do that. They might be like, you might not be good at that, but they would always support me. And like, I mean, I played every organized sport possible growing up. I think I soccer, basketball, baseball, football, lacrosse, hockey. Like I played all of them. Didn't really stand out in any of them, but I always wanted to keep trying different ones.
Yeah.
Like hockey was the most fun, but it's still I quit that. I was in bands for a minute. I was like training in pro wrestling. I started doing stand up. Like I've never been afraid to try a thing.
Okay.
I guess where I get caught up is like the commitment to really go all the way with the thing.
Yeah.
I start a lot of things. I don't finish a lot of things. So I'm like, there's got to be some fear intertwined there of being afraid of like, what if it never goes anywhere? And like, oh, I could control it now and just stop doing it.
Yeah.
And it's not a thing that I just never make it in. It's just a thing that like, nah, I decided to stop doing it. So
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a quick question, definitely related to what you were saying, not towards the back end, but how are you at stealth?
Stealth.
Yeah, how are you personally at stealth? I'm like, I need a connection to this fear of somebody breathing once in your room. It's like, well,
I'm pretty good, and I've like lived with people who have said like, oh, I didn't even hear you come in last night, or like I didn't hear like you walking up the stairs or anything like that.
I only
So,
heard
like,
you breathe once.
and they're like, it seemed like there's. Yeah.
that's what I was checking.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, it makes sense now. Not so irrational of a
Yeah.
fear if you believe that somebody
Yeah.
like you could
I
be
mean,
out there
exactly.
sneaking up
I know
on
I'm
you.
pretty good at it. I don't know if I'm in someone's room. I'm not breathing once. I mean, I think I've got some fucking jabronis that are coming in, that aren't really equipped for it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, can you remember a time in your life when you were the most scared?
Ooh, damn. Most scared. Not like man. I guess like the longer form thing was like my dad ended up passing away of cancer, so he had it for like 9 years. So that was a roller coaster of like fear of how much time, how bad is it currently, and it was he ended up having like 4 different cancers over like 9 years. So they would like one thing would be good and then another would pop up, and so like that was just kind of going in and out of like, all right, well, I'll start to prepare mentally, and then he's good, and then I'm like, oh great, and then now it's in his, it's in his lungs. Ah shit, all right, I'll prepare. And, hey, it's not in his lungs anymore; it's in his brain now. So then you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was just constantly being scared for 9 years.
Yeah.
Man.
Not great, but yeah, that was. Yeah, I can't think of like one specific event that I was like, shit, this is terrifying. But like that whole process was,
Which sounds terrifying,
Yeah.
by the way. But through that process, was there a way that you were managing the fear? Or did you learn how to, or this might sound like a morbid question, but after your father passed, I would imagine because of the process of it, you can breathe a little bit because you're not holding your breath.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So in that process of exhaling, did you notice a way that you were dealing with fear, or did your fear tactic become evident?
I know. I mean, like when after he passed, there was actually, you know, a sort of sigh of like he's not suffering anymore, and you know, especially towards the end when like his quality of life was really going down. It was like it was hard for me to even just watch it and see it. And so then, yeah, there's like this sigh, this kind of like a weight off of my own shoulders, even of like, you know, I don't know about if it's a better place, but I just know that the place he was in, he's not in. And so that means he's not suffering anymore. And so that was a big sigh there. And I guess like, I don't know if I ever like handled the fear well. I kind of would go in and out of, you know, finding ways to cope with things. I think even like doing comedy, like just going up and forcing myself to, you know, find things that are funny and look at things in a funny way when like, you know, real life is fucking shit. So, you know, I'm going to try to use humor to kind of keep myself afloat. I'm a party person, so, you know, just going out and, you know, probably coping with booze a little too much was always a thing too.
Okay.
You know, and I noticed that like after he passed, a lot of that, like, there wasn't this desire to like go chase other things and other good feelings. I was just able to kind of like sit in it for a minute and, you know, look back on what he had gone through and also what it was, you know, what I was going through with it as well. And just kind of like, I don't know what it was that I found from it, but there was like a piece that I kind of came to eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is Fear Chakra Unlocked.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Casey.
Yeah, I did
Really
it. I
appreciate
unlocked it.
Yeah, you unlocked it. Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, and again, what I would take from that, how you were learning, how you were dealing with fear, was by pushing yourself to do other things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like always, just, you know, not being afraid to just, you know, go out and try stuff, and because I feel like it's always, you know, you don't want to end your life being like, oh, why didn't I? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's yeah. Ansley, keep
Yes.
moving.
All right, Casey, the next segment or next chakra is your pelvis chakra. It's a segment called My Bad. It's a chance for you to apologize to a person, place, and thing. Person, place, or thing in order to set your karma back to neutral.
Okay. Ooh.
All right, we just got done doing Casey's Patreon episode, and oh my God, it was so much fun. You're having fun now? Wait till you get to that Patreon episode. Casey, did you have a good time?
I had a fantastic time.
Dude,
Thanks
it
for
was
having me on.
so good. Which, by the way, $1 gets you all of our exclusive content on our Patreon, which not only includes the counter to this episode you're watching right now, which we call Two Jack Bros After Dark, where we enlighten Casey's shadow self, but you also get all of our fight commentary and analysis that we do on Ansley's jiu-jitsu matches, and all the other stuff that we put up there. Man, $1, all of our content. So now we're going to get back to this episode and find out who or what Casey has to apologize to.
Apologize. I'm like I grew up Catholic, so there's like that like guilt, you know, is like ingrained, and so like I feel like I'm always apologizing even for things that I don't need to apologize for. I'm like, I'll like say sorry to someone, like that was, you're fine, don't worry about it. I guess I would like to apologize to everyone for anything that possibly could have happened that I did not know about, that I should have felt more guilty about, but I did. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Just, everyone for everything. I'm
Blanket
sorry.
apology.
Yeah.
I don't mean harm on anyone ever. If it happens, I'm sorry. Man.
Is there
There's, like-
is there a version of you that you're apologizing for the most? right?
Oh, shit.
Because like I was like and like giving your like compartmentalizing, like I don't like to do that, but let's just say like there are all these different versions of you. Like for example, like after I have a bad set, I am not fun to be around.
Yeah, right.
You know,
so like bad set Sydney. It's like
I need 5 minutes. If you can give me there's 5 minutes of time where I can feel how excruciating it is to be around me.
Yeah,
You know?
I hear you. Yep.
So like, I mean, I'm not gonna apologize for it. You saw me have a bad set. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, right. It's your fault for coming up to me and saying some dumb shit like "good set" when you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm completely ignoring people either, but I have to I have to go into this bubble and deal with this.
Yeah.
So that I can come out and not have to. You know?
Good or bad, I always have to like leave the room in the venue. Like I have to like get out for a second and like not immediately address anyone.
And that's what's fucked up about what I do. I have to stay in the room and absorb it all.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I need to deal with this in this room, so I can't. Like that's like how I handle fear. Like it's like I don't want to be here anymore.
All right.
I gotta stay.
You gotta stay in it.
Okay.
No. Yeah, I get that. That makes a lot of sense to me. Why do I fly no matter what? I'm like, that was good. I still got to get out of here. I don't want too many people to compliment me. Like some ego shit.
Yeah. So what is there a version of Casey that needs the most apologies?
Unfortunately, obviously, like blackout Casey. There is a lot of that in like college.
That's not a racist term, Ansley. That's
The part of me
I'm
that
picturing him put it on.
Yeah. Oh, blackface Casey already apologized many times, many times. Blackout Casey less because blackout Casey never knows what happened, and someone will be like, "Yeah, you were pretty ripped," and I was like, all right. And so it's never good when you don't know. When you miss an hour or two of your night,
Yeah.
So, but that's always, sometimes that ends up just being people like, yeah, you're just drunk and fun, whatever. And then like sometimes people are like, yeah, you kept screaming about shit that like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, all right, I'm also sorry about that too.
Okay. So when you're going through the dossier that you've been given of your blackout night, like you're just like your lifetime dossier, when you're looking at the list of things, like what are some of the more ridiculous things that stand out to you that blackout Casey has done?
Oh God, man.
Well, he invented blackface Casey.
Yeah, he invented. Oh my God. Like taking a piss on like the front lawn of like our house, and then like it's in college and like people are like walking by and I'm just like yelling at like people as they walk by, and I'm just like peeing out in front of like everyone can just see me like
pissing towards them.
I might have been. Who knows?
Yeah.
Just like say it, just dumb shit. Man. Well, this one was just kind of more fun. I like smashed a TV on a sidewalk and elbow dropped it. That could have hurt me more than anyone. So
okay,
but yeah, you do the stuff and it's more so like I just feel bad. Like friends had to be like, Sue's got their eye on Casey. Like who's watching? Like who's making sure he's not totally being an idiot. I got a DUI and like that's not fun. That's not a good. There's no one to apologize for that. I didn't hurt any. I got a DUI in a Taco Bell parking lot. So. No one was hurt except for my wallet and my appetite that night, my hunger. But yeah, I think that like, and that's the thing that I've been also trying to be more conscious of lately. Like I gotta like, because I've been doing it again. I'm like, why am I getting back into like college, like early mid-20s cycle of stuff? So
how old are you now?
31. I also like stopped working. So I'm like, I need to get back into a job because I got to like find a rhythm and routine, because right now I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'll just hang out and party and do whatever. And I'm doing that like 3 nights a week. I'm like, yeah, I got to, you know the scene, like it's just easy. You're at bars all the time and, I get bored. So I'm like, oh, I'll do this instead. And not a good rhythm and routine to be in. But like, I think it's just, I normally, if I mess up, I think I'm pretty good at like an apology when I'm, present in the thing that I was doing. Okay. It's like those moments of like, me just being an idiot, not handling my booze. I'm like, God, dude, like that's embarrassing.
Okay. So you just like basically apologizing for all the ones you missed.
Yeah. Because there's probably a couple out there. And that's what I was trying to I was joking about it earlier. Now that I've gone full circle, I'm like, no, that is exactly what I'm doing. Anything I missed. I'm sure there's like some relationships that ended poorly, but also like that's always a two-way street. Yeah. So there's like no like friendships that I'm really like, I've had friendships like fizzle out, but nothing that like ended really poorly. You know what I mean? I'm saying that, someone might watch this and be like, oh, no, this did not end well. And I'll be like, all right, let me go back on and apologize for everything once again. But yeah, no, I think it's just really just like apology for like behavior over time that, like, you know, I was just being an idiot about and being immature and shit.
Sure. Especially to those all those chaperones who had to keep an eye on Casey.
The drunk chaperones who were like, God, like, why couldn't he just stay on the same level as everyone else and just enjoy the night?
Yeah. Or I mean, they could either be drunk chaperones or drunk Sherpas, depending on how they approach it.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
That was wise.
That was wise.
Yeah.
Maybe I am enlightened. I don't know. All right, but no, thank you for that.
Were you a drunk Sherpa in college, taking care of me?
Well, yeah, I don't know what I was. I was a sober Sherpa.
Yeah.
Taking care of a drunk. I mean, you weren't a Sherpa.
No.
What's the opposite of a Sherpa? What pulls you down the mountain?
Oh no, fat American.
You weren't fat either. We'll figure out what you were.
Okay.
You were definitely drunk though. So definitely a pelvis chakra unlocked.
Yes.
It's apologizing for all the ones you missed. That's your apology if you're out there. You're like, but I guess that's technically me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a cop out.
No, it's a good one though. It's like, you know, all those drunk Sherpas or chaperones know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
You know? So, Ansley, let's keep it moving.
We are at the gut chakra now. So, Casey, how do you deal with disappointment in yourself?
Again, I was supposed to have learned how to do that by now. No. Disappointment. I mean, I think that I was just actually talking to a friend like last night about like self-talk that you can get into. And he had a great point. He was like, he's like, I say stuff to myself that I would never say to someone else. And I'm like, that makes so much sense. And that's like something I try not to do, of like, if I wouldn't say it to someone else, because I know if I said it to someone else, I would sound like an asshole. So why would I say it to myself?
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, yeah, there's many reasons consistently why I'm disappointed in myself. But I also, you know, will take a step back and like try to do the, you know, broad view of my entire life and be like, you know, there's been a lot of good decisions along the way too. So when I'm not happy with the decision, like the current decision I've made or what, you know, outcome I got from something, I'm like, you know, but this is one little thing in a long line of many decisions that have gone on for a long time. And like, I'm, you know, pretty happy with how my life has been, that I'm like, okay, you know, yeah, this sucks, but you know, you've got a decent track record of, you know, good decision making. I have to like kind of go back and look and like, you know what I mean? Like remind myself like that was good. So that like the current disappointment doesn't feel like it's like, you know, the only thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're putting it into perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, that matters.
It does.
Being able to do that. Sometimes it's hard though.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you're living in the disappointment.
It feels like the biggest.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's easy. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like it's one of those things where if I'm really disappointed in myself, I have a hard time getting out of it. You know, like if it's a really like dumb thing, I'll be in it for like a week or two.
Yeah.
And really sit and fester on it. And it takes me, I don't get to that like getting out of it part right away. It's there for a while, but I eventually scrape and claw my way out. And I'm like, that was fine. We were okay. Like, that wasn't that big of a deal.
Like your fingernails are missing from like clawing up a wall. We're good.
Covered in my own blood. I'm like, all right, we're fine. We're okay.
Also, too, with like the negative self-talk that you're talking about, like you wouldn't say it to other people.
Yeah.
What I do is I say it to other people, right? Because you know you say things to yourself that you wouldn't say to other people. Well, what I learned was the reason why I'm not saying it to other people is because in my mind it's like, well, I can handle it, they can't. So I realized that part of the reason I wasn't saying that stuff to other people was because I was condescending towards them.
Okay.
Like as if they couldn't handle the way that I talk to myself in my mind.
Interesting.
Then
Gotcha.
I started to do it, and then I realized, it's not that bad.
Okay.
It's not like I don't talk that negatively to myself. I mean, you might. I don't.
I get pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm more just like, get it together, Sid. And for years, I would never say "get it together" to another person.
Oh,
that level.
Oh, that level. Yeah, that's a nice thing. Yeah, I mean, I would, if someone told me to get it together, I would appreciate it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm never saying get it together to myself. I'm like, you're the dumbest fucking person that has ever tried to do anything remotely close to what you just tried to do. Why did you think you have the right to even try to attempt this? I get down and deep and dirty.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's not shit I would.
Yeah.
I wouldn't drop that on other people. I get pretty ugly.
Never believe that about me. I mean, I could definitely need to get it together.
My one lately has been, I ask myself, are you getting dumber? I pose the question to myself, are you getting more dumb? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe I am.
Yeah. But that means you're getting funnier.
Maybe.
There's always a bright side.
Right.
All right. So another question I like to ask in this section is there did you ever do sports or like performance arts or theater where you had like a particular disappointment that haunts you?
I guess I would have to say, man, because I got a lot of different things. So like an actual like performance or something that really disappointed me, or like
because like I always tell people. I mean, I'm not trying to cut you off, but like mine, like I played football for a little while in high school, and I mostly played defense, but I got in for an offensive possession where I was like the second string halfback.
Okay.
And it was a 2-point conversion to win the game. And it was like I just went through the line, turned right, and then I was wide open.
Okay.
Right, and the play was for me to be wide open.
Yeah. And
to catch this pass and win the game rather than tie and then have to deal with all that shit. And the pass hit me right in the numbers and I dropped it. It was the perfect pass.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like it hit my chest and then like I was like fumbling to try to catch it. It like hit me, bounced off, and I was just like, what the fuck just happened?
Like you forgot a football was about to be thrown your
way.
Dude,
I forgot football was being played at all. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can relate to that because I also played football in 8th grade, and I was like a backup safety all year. Mm-hmm. And then it was the last game of the season. Our team was undefeated. Our safety, or one of our linebackers got injured, couldn't play the last game. So then the starting safety got moved up to linebacker, and then I got to start at safety. And our team was good. Safety normally didn't have to do much because most of the tackles were being made before anyone got to the secondary, right? Mm-hmm. There's only like 3 runs that like broke the line of scrimmage or like got past the linebackers, and I missed the tackle every single time. And one of them went for a touchdown, and after the game, and we won. We still won. We were undefeated, but after the game, like, all right, we're undefeated. We're good. I finally got to start at defense, and my dad was like, "Hey, there's burnt toast," and I was like, "You motherfucker!" So, there's that one. Man,
burnt toast.
Yeah, I know, right? It was like, he was like sitting on it since the first half. He just couldn't wait.
A whole football game. Like halftime cheerleaders.
Parents are trying to talk. He's like, I can't lose this.
Wait,
hold on to it.
That's awesome.
That was because it wasn't just disappointment. It's disappointment my father apparently too.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, he got a cool, fun line out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Man, that's funny. All right. Well, that's definitely a disappointment chakra unlocked. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's located in your gut, by the way. That's like when you feel those pangs of disappointment.
Am I gonna get abs now?
Yeah.
I'm not disappointed in myself anymore.
Yeah, we make no promise about abs or any sort of like muscular definition leaving this podcast. Does burn calories though. Ansley, keep it moving.
All right, we are now at the heart chakra. So, Casey, what have you learned from grief?
Ooh, that's a good one. They've all been very good. I mean, I'm still definitely, in the grieving process with my father.
How long ago was that you
lost? It's like, that was 2019. So this was June was 3 years.
Wow.
And you want to like tell yourself like 3 years is a long time. It hasn't really felt like it.
I know.
It still
Yeah.
really feels like I'm in that moment. A thing I've had lately is, as I process it, is like it almost feels in a weird way, and this is not like on him at all.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Can you turn that air conditioner off?
Oh yeah.
All good.
You know, a little ASMR throughout this whole entire episode. I just noticed that. I'm so sorry, Casey. I didn't mean to interrupt you. All right, now.
Do you think the audio will be good from earlier?
I mean, it'll be okay,
yeah.
but like the comments will definitely be
Okay.
Yeah, but this episode is
I
so
see what you're
fucking fun. There's,
Yeah.
yeah. There'll be people will live. But I'm sorry, you were saying?
Yeah. So I think the thing that I've had, been going through lately as I'm processing, is that like, and this is not on my dad at all as a father. He was a phenomenal father, and he was always in my life. But it feels like he's a bigger part of my life now than he was before, because the weight of him not being here feels so much heavier than like when you take for granted when he is here.
Yeah.
And so like that's where I'm at in the grieving process right now of like, would love to have him here, obviously, but I'm like I just feel like there's so much more, because it's like when you go out and like I'm a single guy, so like you go out on dates and then it's always you start to talk about your family, and then it's like always this thing I feel like I have to reveal, and so it's like it's always still like a hard thing to just bring up and to let people in on. I'm very open about talking about it, but it's also just a thing like it feels so much heavier. It just feels like there's so much more to him now because he's not here than if I was like, oh yeah, my dad's like a lawyer, like he lives out in Edinburgh, and like I see him like twice a year, I mean, like where now it's like, yeah, he was gone, I moved home, I was living with him, when he passed, I was helping take care of him, and like, there's this whole extra piece of him that was the end of his life that I'm kind of like left with, and it's so. I guess the question was like, what have I learned about grieving, or like,
What have you learnned from grief?
What have I learned from grief is that it's like an ongoing process. I don't think it really ever stops, and it comes in different waves, and there's different like there's different parts of it. I know that like there's like the 5 stages, but I think it's even that I think is too like broad strokes.
Yeah.
Like, there's 5 things you're gonna go through. I'm like, no, there's a million things that you go through in a grieving process. It's not just like these 5 stages that you can just break it down into. Like I go in and out of the 5 stages still, and it's been 3 years. Again, it's like, is that a long time? It doesn't feel like it,
Yeah. We've had close to 40 different people on this podcast at this point, and I think that was the first time somebody expressed the part of grief where the person seems like they're larger in their life now than when they were living.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we've heard that.
No, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So Ansley lost her mother very recently,
A year ago.
Oh,
So
okay.
like I relate to everything you're saying.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
So I mean, I'm just curious. Like, how much do you relate to that? At this point now?
Well, I feel like it's like we just went to the beach, and like she loved the beach, and like so the whole time we're there, it was just like, she would have loved to be here,
Yep.
So every single, and like with kids and everything, like every moment, everything that they're going through, you're like, it's great, but you're like, oh, I wish she was here, or she's missing this, or wouldn't this be great to share with her, and it's like, and with the kids, it's like me missing the moments to talk to her, but then it's also like, this would have been something that they could have shared with her, so like I feel like I'm missing her for them too, and like so it's a lot of compounding like moments.
Exactly, and everything always there's that what if they were, it's in that that's always there. It's just it hasn't got. I was expecting it to like, okay, after the first year and I get through the first holidays and the first whatever's, it's still, I mean, it's still there. I know that's not comforting, but it is like, it's still there. And I think that helped when I like the first year after I lost my father, like I talked to people about it. And I remember someone being like, it doesn't get easier. It just becomes a natural thing that you know how to deal with. It's not that it's easy, but like you just kind of over time, you're like, that feeling is always there, and that's just how, you know, they stay present in your life. You know, it's not the best way for them to be there with you, but it is still, they're still there, you know, like you're still always thinking about them. And I guess that's like the important part.
Yeah.
And yeah, so definitely thank you for sharing all that. It was, I mean, well, I want to say definitely thank you for that, but I also definitely want to say that, you know, I knew you when you left to go back, take care of your dad. And I don't know if I expressed it then. I probably tried to, you know, but I thought I was very proud of you that you did that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because I felt like it could have been easy to not.
Yeah, people talk about that with me a lot, like, you know, the decision to do. I mean, like, just to backstory's sake, like my dad was living alone, and I thought he was getting sicker. I knew he was getting sicker. I could hear it in his voice. And so I just kind of like, I was living in Philly at the time. I'm like, I might move back home and take care of him. And he didn't need like help getting out of his chair or anything like that. It was just like, he doesn't have anyone else there. And I figured, you know, I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I had like my sister and brother have families, and like, you know, they had their own stuff. Like, I just felt like I have the freedom to do this. No one's asking me to do it, but I can do it. So like, I should, you know, why not? You know, if I don't, I might regret it. And like, it was I'm not a higher power person by any means. I was thinking about moving back home. I had gotten a text out of nowhere from the superintendent of the first school district that I worked at, my home school district. And he was like, hey, what are you doing? Where do you live? I'm like, I'm in Philly. Why? And he goes, well, we have like a job opening that we haven't been able to fill. It was the position you had before, high school emotional support teacher. Like, would you be willing to, you know, come back and take that job? Like, it's yours. You don't even need to interview for it.
Yeah.
And so there was like this, I'm getting offered a job, you know, in my hometown. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You know, and I even told him the situation. I was like, I was already thinking about moving home. So then I moved home. And it was able to be there with my dad. And, you know, there's definitely some like things along the way. Like, he had some falls in like the middle of the night that I was able to like help him with, and, you know, get him up and, you know, take care of him. And then the last like May, his like April through May, his health started to really decline. And then like he passed away on like the last day of the school year. So it was like this whole thing of like getting offered this job to come back, and I'm like, it helps me, you know, you can make a living while I'm back home too. And then, but the time, it was just so bizarre to me. And like, again, not a like higher power person, but I'm like, man, the universe can really show itself in a very like on the nose direct, like, look at how this fucking lined up. And you're like, it's hard to, you know,
it's
what was that?
Chilling.
Yeah, I'm like, I always look back. I'm
gracious.
like, well, how did that just fall together in a way? Like, I still can't really process it, but it was.
Yeah.
How did your mom deal with? Like, I know that they were divorced. My parents were divorced too. Like, how did your mom deal with? Was she involved in the situation, or was she kind of like?
She's like super supportive, you know, all of us, and you know, always there for us and stuff. So, you know, she understood like. I think the hard part for her, which would make sense, is like, because he was sick and it was for so long, there was always like more of an eagerness to like go spend time with him. You know, she picked up on it, and I'm like, it's not a personal thing, but it's like you know, it feels like there's less time over here. You know, so it was, you know, I definitely like, you know, even in adulthood, you know, there were different times during college and after college that I would live with my dad, because I went to college in my hometown. So I just like spent more time, you know, with him throughout my 20s for sure. So I think like, but she handled it well. I think she just, you know, really understood the situation and was like always supportive. I think they always still had love for each other, even though the marriage didn't work out. I don't think it was like there was no love lost. You know, like it was still there. So she, you know, was still like always involved, you know, very helpful, you know, with the process of everything after, you know, her name was like still on the house. And so she was, you know, she was great and very helpful and supportive, the entire time. So I'm grateful for that. It wasn't like I know it can just get so ugly for some people, you know. I don't know if it was a situation for you that was like.
It wasn't ugly. It was just, I don't know. It was strange. It's like, I think it's similar to like kind of like watching your parents get divorced, and then like watching my dad try to deal, like he's remarried, and like him dealing with that loss, and watching me and my brother deal with it, and like he wanted to be really involved in it, but it was kind of like, this isn't totally your place anymore, you know, because like he was the one that left the relationship for sure.
Gotcha.
And it was, you know, it's just, I don't know.
Gotcha.
It was, and he's not a big talker, so it wasn't like he shared too much with me about it, but like.
Yeah, and your parents got divorced kind of like right before we met or as we were meeting?
Yeah, because my dad waited until I went off to college.
Okay, yeah, that was my dad's kind of plan too. That's what he wanted to do. Yeah.
So they were not together. They were divorced for over 20 years.
Yes, it'd been a while.
By the time her mom passed.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, I can see that where your dad would, you know, kind of not. And I think my mom balanced it well of like not trying to be like, let me come in and be the parent right away, you know, but she was still like, I'm here. Anything you need, like anything at all, I'll do it, you know. And so, you know, I was very grateful to have a healthy thing going on there.
Cool. So again, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
That was a heart chakra unlocked.
For sure.
And Ansley, keep it moving.
All right. Casey, we're at the throat chakra. What is a favorite lie that you have told, or if you are still telling it, if it's still in rotation, you get extra karmic points?
Favorite lie. There's two. They're so dumb. I did one. I went to a frat party at Penn State when I was in college, and I told everyone that my name was Andy Costner, that I was Kevin Costner's son. And everyone at this frat believed it because the friends I was with were like also like, oh yeah, that's Kevin Costner's son.
Yeah.
And like Kevin Costner's like a guy, especially like a college frat in like, you know, 2010 to 2014 or whatever year it was. Like no one like knows enough about Kevin Costner to like really have any like, you're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, oh, his son would definitely go to Penn State.
Yeah. So it was just, I was getting free drinks and like being introduced to people. It was like, oh, yo, this is Kevin. Remember Kevin Costner from like Waterworld? Like this is his son. And it just went on all night. And then I was at like a party at my college, 4 hours away from Penn State, like 2 months later. And this guy came up to me and he goes like, looks at his friend. He's like, oh, you know who this is? And the guy's like, no. He goes like, dude, tell me who you are. And I'm like, Casey. He goes, no. He's like, oh, I thought you were this dude like Andy, who was like Kevin Costner's son. I was like, oh, holy shit! Like this Penn State frat guy was now at this other party 2 months later telling someone that I was Andy. So that's easily one of my favorite lies I've ever told.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was another one I used to just fucking around with friends. Like one of my buddies one time came up and like put me in like a choke, like a hold, and I just immediately went limp. And everyone that was like thought it was just funny that I just kind of like just went down. So that became like a running gag, and like anyone would just come up behind me and I would just go limp. But we would do it around people that didn't know the gag. So like then our other friends would be like, wait, is he okay? Like, did you seriously just choke him out? And so we would just keep doing that around people, and then just seeing how long I could stay on the ground, like passed out, and how long they could like pretend that I was completely out cold. And everyone eventually caught on. We were telling people that I had like a really sensitive, like trigger point or really sensitive nerve in my neck, and that like if you just touch it, I go down. I had one friend who like looked it up, and they were like, apparently it's like a real thing.
Oh wow.
Maybe, I don't know what they looked up, but they were like, yo, stop doing that to him. Like you're gonna give him brain damage. And so the gag just kind of kept going and going, and eventually like a year later, I couldn't keep doing it to this person anymore because they were like the fucking nicest person in the world.
Yeah.
And so it would just like, people would come up, choke me out. I'd go down. They would be like, oh my God, stop doing this. And like freaking out and like getting confrontational with our friends of like, you have no idea what you're doing to them. And so then finally, like on the person's birthday, I was just like, someone choked me out, and I just stood up immediately. And I was like, listen, I gotta tell you, it's been going on for like over a year. It might have been like 2 years at that point.
Oh,
I was like, you deserve to know. And he,
yeah. Did you ever have a moment where the time that you were on the ground, like trying to see how long you could be on the ground in their presence, was coming against like how long you want it to be on the ground?
Oh yeah, they'd be like, oh man, I really gotta pee. Like, they're like, you know what I mean? And the friends would always point out that like sometimes it would happen when I had a drink, and they're like, I don't know how anyone keeps falling for this. You never spill your drink when we do this. I would like go down, but still like, oh, and like, you know, the cup was always up. You know, like I never committed fully to spill my drink. I always made sure the drink was there.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
In a gross frat floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. There was definitely some places where I'm like, why'd you do it here? This fucking is disgusting.
Yeah.
And I would try to like fall like, what's the best place to
All right, those are two good lies.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Those are fun ones. Yeah, I felt like everything was, you know.
Yeah. And okay, so Ansley.
All right.
Oh wait, by the way, we'll call that a throat chakra unlocked.
Yes. All right. We are to the third eye chakra. So we're out of the physical into the metaphysical. So what is something that you had thought of as separate, but you're learning that they're really the same?
Thought of as separate, but really the same. Man, that's a really good question. I get I've been thinking a lot about how everything in life seems very cyclical. Mm-hmm. Like, it's sometimes people always do we're in a simulation, you know, joke, but like, I don't know if that even answers the question though. I just feel
it
like
doesn't.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I think the past is the same as the present, and so the future itself. No, so physical versus like the same. I always thought it was separate, but the same.
Yeah, I mean, don't focus on the terminology of physical versus metaphysical.
Okay,
that's not important. What is important is something that you saw as the same, but you realize now.
Something
you saw as separate, but you realize now
it's
like
the same.
Yeah.
I think like I always thought that, you know, I think a lot of feelings end up coinciding. Like, I've had things that made me feel very successful and fulfilled, and I've had things that made me feel very disappointed and, you know, upset. It always ends up kind of like, I think those feelings kind of do the same to the body of like, it puts you in a shock in a way, and then, but it's also, it's a fleeting feeling every time. So like, I always thought that success would, like, if I was successful in certain things, or if I was, you know, chipping away at goals, that like I would feel better than if I was failing. And I don't think success and failure like really feel that different, because you always want something better. Like, you always want something more. Like, you're always gonna, all right, what's the next step now? Mm-hmm. When you fail, it sucks because you like feel like, you know, you are an idiot, or like you're just not doing what you set out to do. But you're still trying to if you're doing it the right way, you're still working at it. Like, you're still trying to like reach a goal. Same thing as when you get success. Like, if you experience a moment of success, then you're still gonna move on. You're not just like, oh, I did it, and now I sit in this throne and I'm, you know, like the king. I look at me. It's like, then you're like, all right, well, like, how can I make more money doing this? Or like, how can I, you know, do a bigger room? Whatever the thing is, like, I'm thinking in like comedy terms, you know what I mean? But like, it can be anything. So I think that I always thought like success would be a feeling, and I'm talking like I'm incredibly successful. I'm hardly, but like, even when I've had those moments of it, it doesn't feel that much different from me than like, you know, when something is just not gone my way. Yeah.
It's like no position can be maintained.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You expect things. Don't you like? Oh, there's always the expectation of like what this will feel like once I achieve it or get it, and then I'm always kind of left with like wanting a little bit more.
Yeah, I like with jiu-jitsu competitions, you know, like when you lose, it sucks and you're like, very frustrating. But even when you win, like, it's not like you stop self-analyzing. You're like, I could have done that better. I could have done that better. And then you get stuck in that, like, well, you can't hold on to that win because now you've got another competition and you just want to take it to the next level. And so it's like,
yeah. So when you lose, you're like, well, I got to fucking get back to the mat, work out so I don't lose again. And then when you win, it's like, I got to get back to the mats and work out so I keep winning.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's like
that's
very the
best. Yeah.
All right.
Nailed
I like,
it.
yeah, I like it. I like it. That is a nuance that, again, that's another nuance in disappointment, or not in this section that we haven't heard.
Yeah.
So, hell yeah.
Word. Yeah.
You know, and we'll call that a third eye chakra unlocked.
Yes.
Right? Unless, I mean, you didn't, it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, no, it's very, Like,
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but I now I do.
Yeah, right? It's fun. It's a fun way to, it's a fun thing to implement. It's, I mean, especially too, where it's like, well, it doesn't, we're always trying to like reiterate to ourselves that like, we'll just do jujitsu. No matter what the problem is, jujitsu is going to be the thing that solves the problem anyway. That just reinforces that even more.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just, just keep doing jujitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So third eye chakra unlocked. Thank you for that.
Yes.
And Ansley, keep it moving.
All right, Casey, we're at the crown chakra, last chakra.
Okay.
It's a 2-part question.
All right.
All right. What is one thing you can't give up and why? And what would giving it up mean?
One thing I can't give up. Man, I give up almost everything. I give up a lot of stuff. I move on quickly from things. I guess, and it's not. I have like bad habits, you know, and some of them are like long ingrained in me, and it's just like stuff that I need to get rid of, like some of the ways I respond to things. And if I did get rid of it, it would mean that like I might be a version of myself that I wouldn't battle with so often. But I think I'm kind of trapped in a cycle of like learned behavior of how I respond to things, negative things from like when I was a kid that, you know, maintain as an adult. And it's like there's like that part of like the inner child I need to like cut off and separate, you know, and grow a little bit from, you know.
So I am going to ask you if you have an example, but I'm not asking you for the reason why I'm asking you, and I only want to state this is because like I like where this answer is going, and I feel like for people to fully relate to it, if you like an example might help for them to be like, oh yeah, that is a thing I do too. Yeah,
I think like you know, I've mentioned like drinking here a little bit, you know. I grew up like with a family like where like partying was like a very socially acceptable thing to do.
Gotcha. And
it also was like a way I watched, you know, people handle their thing. It was like, oh, I need to have a drink. And so I've gotten into like the habit of like, you know, I can stop drinking, but I also have the routine of like when things are bad, I'm like, I need to just drink. I just like I need something right now because this feeling isn't good, so I need something, as opposed to like sitting in the feeling, you know. And it's that like getting in a routine and rhythm of like, oh, you know, I feel anxious, so I'm gonna like go to this thing and like push myself off away from the world, you know. Like I've actually, to be honest, like another thing is like I've started like watching like porn when I was like a young kid. And like porn's been a weird thing that I've like used that to detach from like situations where I'm like anxious. And I'm like, oh, well, this is like a little, like endorphin, you know, dopamine hit. So like I'll watch that. And then it's like, so you get into these like routines and habits of like, you know, abusing different things that, you know, need to be used in moderation. And, you know, I've just grown up in a way where like I've attached myself to different things where I'm like, oh, that's just a good way for me to like kind of escape. And I'm like, don't escape ever, you know. You gotta like I said, cut yourself off from the things that you learned at a young age made you feel good, so that you can like learn how to feel better now as a, you know, more grown person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course you answered the second part first, which was it would mean you would be a version of yourself that you wouldn't battle with as much.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how the podcast ends, Casey.
Right on.
So how do you feel, man?
This is why people glow when they leave, huh?
Yeah.
You talk about stuff and sit around 5 lights, and then you're like,
Hell yeah.
radiate out of here. Yeah, no, this is a lot of fun.
And we didn't even ask you, do you have time to stick around for the Patreon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Also, I wanted to say, I forgot, it came to my mind and forgot about it, but when you guys were talking about your parents getting divorced, I never had to see that. My parents were never together, but you would think a divorce between a psychologist and a lawyer would be amicable.
Yeah, he's like, I'll do the paperwork. She's like, I'll talk about the feelings.
Yeah.
I actually never thought about it that way. I never did. That's
That's like
never put
the
that
perfect skill set for a divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, Casey, thank you for that, man. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. No, this felt great. This was a really fun conversation. I really enjoy you guys having me on here to do this because I'm like, oh shit, I'm used to like going on and just doing like a bunch of pop culture references on like podcasts and stuff and like talking about bands or whatever. Like this was great.
All right, cool. And so we're going to hop into the Patreon now. You guys can follow us over there. $1 gets you all of our exclusive content over on our Patreon. That's right. $1 gets you not only the counter to this podcast, which we call Two Jack Bros After Dark, but it also gets you our fight commentary and analysis that we do on Ansley's Jiu-Jitsu matches. And anything else comedy-wise that I may or may not put up there. Well, would have to put it up there for it to matter. And Casey, we forgot to even promote your stuff. What do you have a podcast?
I don't have anything. I mean, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's just my name, Casey Kuftic, Kuftic. I've got, some shows coming up, but no, I do need to get into having another thing. I just don't know what I want to do yet.
No pressure. Casey Kuftic, follow him on Instagram. And, of course, we're on all the stuff, too. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We love you.
Love ya.
And we're out.
Two Jack Bros. Two Jack Bros.